What's up, guys? So today I wanted to talk about something a little bit different than I normally do. Normally I do like product reviews or collection stuff, but I've noticed that this channel, it's centered around retro gaming, but I don't talk a lot about games. I talk a lot about like building the collection around me, but I don't actually talk a lot about playing the games. I do play them. I'm not just some kind of hack collector. I do get enjoyment out of all the games that are brought in the room, but I haven't really talked much about my experiences with games. And that's something that I definitely would like to do more of, is share my experiences with games with y'all. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I want to share with you guys games that were important to me growing up. I think all of us here had some level of contact with video games. Whether they were good games or bad games, popular games or very niche games, we all had games that were important to us growing up. So today I want to share with you guys 5 games from my childhood that were important to me then and are still important to me now. I want to lead this off by saying that I'm not going to talk about some games that were important to everyone's childhood. You know, like I think anyone here who grew up with any level of gaming has at least some experience with your Marios, your Zeldas, your Mega Mans, all these games that are just so commonly talked about in the influential space. So I want to talk a bit more about games that were niche, a bit more niche and specific to my childhood. These are in no particular order, and I think it goes without saying that these are just 5 games that were important to me as a kid, not the 5 most important games to me as a kid. And those 5 games are right here. This first game that I'm going to talk about is one that's not really discussed very much. You don't really hear a lot about it, and that makes me sad because it's a really fun game. When you think old school Nintendo, one game that probably everyone really thinks of is Tetris. But Tetris is not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the sequel, Tetris 2. One of the key things you're going to notice about the games that I'm talking about today are the fact that they're mostly multiplayer games. One of the biggest reasons that made me enjoy these games was playing them with my family. My dad and my sister would often play games together, and one of the games that was often in the rotation was Tetris 2, the Dr. Mario-esque puzzle clearing game, because it's not like normal Tetris where you're trying to clear lines. It's a little bit more like Dr. Mario where you're trying to clear off certain pieces that are already existing on the board by lining up a certain number of colors. It was a really fun game and a really good puzzler, especially when you pick that speed up a couple of notches. Tetris 2 is one of those games that just really sticks with me, and I still go back to play it every once in a while, even to this day, just to relive those memories of childhood. We're moving on to the N64 now. I have 3 N64 games here today, and the first one I want to talk about is Yoshi's Story. Now, I know I just talked about most of these games being multiplayer, and I'm bringing up Yoshi's Story, a decidedly single-player game. But for me, it felt a bit more multiplayer because most of the time that I played this game, it was late nights with my sister and my cousin. We'd be taking turns going through the levels, handing off the controller every time one of us lost to Yoshi. It's definitely one of those games that's meant for younger kids because it's easy, it's cute, there's not a lot of consequence to the game. Yoshi's Story is just stands out as one of those memory games for me that, because of those late nights with my sister and my cousin, I'll always have a special place in my heart for. Up next we have Pokemon Puzzle League. I know this game is just a Pokemon scanned Tetris attack, but it still stands as very important to me growing up because, once again, it was something that I shared with my sister and my dad. We would often play this game and compete with each other to see who could come out on top and take the family trophy, you know, even though the trophy was imaginary. It's funny, there are 3 game modes you can play with this. Your standard Tetris attack, a timed high score mode, and then what almost is like Tetris where you're trying to clear a certain number of lines down to a specific point in the board. We each were better at one of those. My sister had the regular game, my dad had the time attack modes, and I was good at what was called Spa Service, which was basically your Tetris where you were trying to clear blocks down beneath a certain point. It just was a lot of fun and a lot of good memories associated with this. The third N64 game that I want to talk about today is Cruis'n USA. I know I've mentioned this game several times in the past, and it just stands out as one of the pinnacle racing games for me. I know it's just a port of an arcade game, but this still holds as one of the standards that I hold a racing game to today. If I'm playing a racing game, any racing game that's not a kart racer like Mario Kart, then I'm comparing it to Cruis'n USA and how much fun I had with this game as a kid. Because again, it all comes down to that multiplayer experience. My dad and I spent a lot of time playing through this game. We never were the best at it. Like if we put the difficulty past about like level 2, we both just were terrible at it. But that didn't stop us from having a really good time with it. It's still one of my favorite N64 games to this day, and I will go back through and and race all the tracks every once in a while just to relive those memories and have a good time. And the last game we're going to talk about is actually on the PS2. This is a series that you still hear people talk a lot about, for better or for worse, depending on which game in the series they're talking of. The first one kicked off the series, the second one is the objectively best game, the fourth one was one that shouldn't have existed. And while I would agree that the second game is objectively the best of the four of them, I still hold a special place in my heart for Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves. While this is a really good game that really just extended what the second one did right, what stands out for me for this one is actually one of the complaints I've heard other people talk about, and that's the multiplayer mode in it. Specifically the dog fights. Again, going back to spending time playing games with my sister and my dad, the multiplayer mode of Sly 3 is something that all three of us really enjoyed. There was just something about zipping around Holland in a biplane, shooting each other out of the sky. It was just a lot of fun, you know? I haven't revisited this game in a long time though, and that really makes me sad. I really need to revisit these. All four of them, actually. And yeah, that's 5 important games from my childhood. It's nice to be able to look back on gaming as a hobby of mine, something that I've enjoyed for 25 years at this point, and can look back on it and be like, okay, that's some of the reasons why I still enjoy them to this day, because one of the greatest aspects of gaming is sharing that love with other people, especially back in this day where if you wanted to play games with somebody, you had to be in the same room and you both had to share that experience together. It's a nice thought, and it's something that I feel like modern gaming does kind of lack, because there's a lot less couch co-op and there's a lot less same screen multiplayer games. And that's a real shame, because that was something special. But I think that's going to be it for me for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to bringing you even more Game Talk videos just like this one as the days go on. So again, thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, y'all.